I discovered you originally through one of your videos that was about how you only eat once a day, which blew me away
Hmm.
because you're jacked. And
Right.
I'm curious, do you still do that?
I do. Yep. That's just how I eat. I made a decision a few years ago. Well, I'll back it up. My father had me doing that when I was younger. There's a book from Elijah Muhammad called How to Eat to Live, and that was one of the things prescribed. And I did it back then, and then I stopped. Was eating normal, and then I had a period when I was eating a lot. That's when I was really trying to grow. But then I got to a point to where I think in 2015 I got my blood work checked, and it didn't look too good. Despite me not being overweight or fat, but I was big, right? Like 250. I was trending towards becoming pre-diabetic, right? So I did research, and I'm like, how? But I was, becoming insensitive to insulin, right? I was spiking my insulin way too much by eating all the time, food with the high glycemic index rating, and this is when I was living in Miami, so it was lots of Cuban food. You know what I'm saying? And we had some there was a place called Jimmy's. Oh man, the best food, but they had like these big old cookies. Like, I was just doing a lot, bro. And so I was trending towards something that a place I didn't want to be. So I'm pretty extreme. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to one meal a day. Go back to that 'cause I know that works. And I lost a lot of weight. But it's funny because I've been 220 ever since. So I lost like 30 pounds, and my body wants to be here, right where I'm at. People think that it's like they're like, how can you maintain your body mass like that? Here's the thing what people don't understand. So me being a person in the fitness space, I do a lot of research on certain things. I don't like to just give people information off of my anecdotal experience. I want to see if it's back, like if there's like any scientific backing to some of these ideas and notions that I have. And listen, like most of the time is things that I'm already on or accustomed to or adopting into my life. When I go and do the research, it makes sense. So in regards to fasting, all right, so when a person eats like I do, like once a day, what happens is your metabolism becomes efficient, right? And it slows down. So people think a slow metabolism is bad. It's not. It's actually good if you're eating very few meals, right? So if you're eating a lot and your metabolism is slow, that's a problem, right? You might have metabolic damage, which a lot of people do have. Now, the body is a magnificent piece of technology because it's always trying to self correct. So, and it adapts. The reason that we're so successful as a species is because of our great ability to adapt to anything. So, if I start eating a bunch of small meals in a day, my metabolism is going to speed up, right? But the fact that I don't, I've slowed it down. So, what happens is your body, it doesn't digest everything super fast, so you don't get hungry. It stretches it out. It's like, all right, we're good, we're good, we're good. And then about that 24-hour mark is when you start feeling like, all right, it's time to eat again. You train your body. And it's really good because there's a process in the body called autophagy that is cleaning up damaged cells and DNA from your body. You only achieve autophagy when your body's in somewhat of a starvation mode, right? So that's when the body starts cleaning everything out. It's a natural way to detoxify yourself and to cleanse yourself, right? The best way is a complete fast for a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever you could do, right? Giving your body a break. But yeah, most people never experience that. And the way that we die, that humans die, is by cellular damage and DNA damage, right? Um, the more that happens, the more susceptible we become to diseases, cancers, and things of that nature. So it's kind of like, all of the body's defenses are just broke down. So any little thing will take us out. These are some of the reasons why I do it. So, but about like my size, right? This is interesting. When you're not eating a lot, your body also increases its ability for protein synthesis. So that means whatever you do eat, when you're not wasteful, like eating too much, your body's really using it for good, right? So I'm breaking down protein at a higher rate than if I was eating 3 or 4 meals a day. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's a great point. Many great points right there. And I'm curious. My next question is, what time of the day do you eat, and how many calories are you ingesting?
Yeah, I don't count the calories. I eat till I'm satiated. A perfect day, I've eaten around 6 o'clock. I eat a nice big salad and a big old entree and some kind of snack. Now, I do most days out of the week, not every day, but I do have protein shakes after my workouts. Now, pretty much every day.
So, are you
So,
vegetarian?
no, I'm not.
Okay.
I do have a plant-based protein called plantain, but I'm not a vegetarian. But I did explore um, a vegan diet a few years back just to see, see what it was about, try it out, and it was cool. But I like meat, you know.
Right. Because that first initial video that I discovered you through, you were saying you were eating one meal a day, and then that whole meal looked like vegetables, which blew me away because you
I
were huge.
so I might have been just eating vegetables at the time. I think that was around the time I was being plant based, or before I went completely plant based, I was doing every other day no animal protein. So that was easy. I said, I'm gonna go ahead and try like 100% plant based, see what that's like, and it wasn't that hard. Also, I had a Whole Foods across the street from where I lived at the time, so it was super easy to go out over there. And I make these incredible like gourmet salads, like bomb ass salads. So, but when I moved to California, I didn't live near that. It wasn't that convenient to go to Whole Foods, so my lifestyle was different, moving around more, and it wasn't to eat a vegan diet, you got to be really dialed in to stay healthy, right? Because inherently, you're not getting a lot of the nutrients that meat have, right? So you got to supplement it in many different ways, and it could be a whole job. And I don't want. It's not that serious to me, you know. I'm not one of those people that think you're healthier if you don't eat meat, because that's not necessarily true. There's plenty of fat people that don't eat meat. You know what I mean?
Right. I've kind
Yeah.
of heard the philosophy that you want to eat the diet that mimics the animal that you want to be like. So we kind of live like grazers where we're eating constantly, and those animals would be like cows that just eat vegetation all day long and they're always digesting. And then you have predators, which it's like feast or famine for them. They're
Yeah.
either starving or they're gorging themselves, and their meals are very few and far between.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's any validity to that idea, but you know, when you're in a really hungry state, your consciousness is different, and I think that's why there's a connection between spiritual practices and fasting. Have you come across any of that?
100%. It's a so what you mentioned earlier about people saying you should eat like the animals, whatever. I think that's more philosophical, right? So, and I agree with that. I adhere to that. Generally speaking. So these are things that I tell people now, right? And this is all like how things really are. When we are empty, when we are fasted, we have a heightened sense of alertness. We have better memory. Our vision is better. Our hearing is better. Our smelling is better. Our senses are better, right? And there's a reason for that, right? That was a biological evolutionary adaptation that we adapted to be able to find food because modern humans, Homo sapiens sapien, they give us around 200,000 years that we've been in our present form, right? 99% of that was what we would consider primitive living. So it was hunting, right? Hunting, gathering, foraging, things of that sort. No one had an abundance of food, right? Maybe some, but most people didn't. They didn't have food in the cupboard. They didn't have freezers. They didn't save, store, none of that. So, and this is like our agriculture is even fairly new, right? So you're talking about people who ate a couple times a week, right? And guess what? When they had to go hunt, they were doing it on an empty stomach because they're hungry. That was the reason they hunted, right? So we live in a world of so much abundance and opulence that people go hunting for sport just to hang animals' heads on the walls, right? No one did that back then, right? If you kill the animal, you're eating it. You know what I'm saying? Even if there was some kind of ceremony behind killing the animal, you still ate it, right? You honored it by eating it, and you don't have Uber Eats, you know? So fasting the Greeks they would lock people who had like seizures and epilepsy in dungeons. They would think that they were possessed, right? And these people would stop having seizures. It wasn't because they were possessed, it was because fasting cures that, right? Fasting cures so many things, right? There's a doctor that I'm fond of, his work. His name is Jason Fong. He's in Canada, I believe. And he has a book called The Diabetes Code, which I read some years ago. And he's reversed a lot of type 2 diabetes and a lot of cancers with fasting and adjusting their nutrition, right? Somewhat plant-based, but a lot of fasting, right? So fasting is like a miracle cure for so much. And whenever people tell me about them doing a cleanse, I say, okay, what are you doing? Well, I'm gonna drink this and do that and this. I'm like, no, just don't do anything. If anything, water. But that's how you really cleanse your body. Just don't put anything in it, right? And it's like one of the best things that you could do for yourself. You know, we're not sharks, so we're not crocodiles, but those animals live extremely long lives. Like a Greenland shark can live 500 years, right? And they don't eat as much as we eat. A shark can eat once every 3 months. I don't know if people know that. They have extremely slow digestion, but animals with the slower metabolism live longer.